Welcome everybody to today's webinar. My name is David Stevens. I have an exciting webinar scheduled for you today with IKONICS Imaging. We're happy to be doing this webinar with IKONICS Imaging today. We have some great content laid out for you. I will start this webinar to kind of showcase the laser side, and then I will move forward with the sand carving side with Darren Jones of IKONICS Imaging. Please don't forget to post any questions. Select the comments button and then write your questions down during this event. And at that point, we will answer the questions at the end of the actual webinar live. If you don't have a chance to go back and check your questions later, or if you want to maybe look at this later, this webinar will be recorded. And so you have the access to go through and use the link that you got before to access this webinar so that you can watch it at a later date. So let's go ahead and get started here and switch to my screen here, and we will move forward and kind of show you exactly how laser technology has the ability to enhance sand carving by utilizing the IKONICS imaging technology. So moving forward here, we have a collaboration here working with laser technology and sand carving. Laser systems really can't do what sand carvers can do. We can etch glass just on the surface. We can etch masks, which sand carvers can't do. And of course, lasers can do everything else as well. But producing depth into the surface of the glass is very difficult to do on a laser. However, something like a sand system or sand carving system from IKONICS Imaging, it is an easy process. So that's what I'm going to show you today. This webinar has a lot of QR codes, and so if you need access to some of the files, some of the links to videos, as well as how to maybe get certain resources and stuff, you can scan the QR codes. These links will also be offered in the comments section below if you don't want to use the QR codes. If you're not familiar with it, just turn on your camera app, then point your camera app at the QR code. You don't have to take a photo, and then a little code or basically a link will pop up on your screen. Select that and be directly taken to that location, whether it's files, whether it's videos, or maybe even a location to a product or material. Trotec USA is a very social company, as you can see here. If you want to keep an eye on what's new, what's changing, what's different, use your favorite social media platform. You can scan these QR codes here if you want to be taken to one of our social media platforms and be kept up to date with these type of seminars, webinars, videos, and stuff like that. So whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you use, don't forget to subscribe and like, as well as follow us on these different platforms. So laser technology, most everyone hopefully watching this webinar is either looking at what laser technology or already has it. Or maybe they're looking to buy a sand carving system in addition to their laser system, or vice versa. When it comes to laser technology and working with this type of an application, working with sand carvings, lasers provide a quick, easy solution for creating the sand carving masks. If you're not familiar with what a mask is the coating that's placed over the surface of the glass that keeps the sand from basically damaging that glass. And then the laser is able to ablate or remove that material, exposing the glass's area to where it can be sand carving. And since a laser can't produce the depth, it's a great combination of technologies that allow kind of the best of both worlds. Lasers allow much fewer steps to make a mask versus other processes. There's no weeding involved, so you don't have to physically cut it out like on a vinyl cutter and then weed it out and then place it over afterwards. It can be done in place, which I will show you. It's faster. You can take flat glass and it can be done in batch processes, meaning you can fill an entire laser system up and actually process all the products at once. And then in addition, lasers can provide much higher contrast and greater detail at those faster rates of speed. So you're able to do half-toning and imageries and patterns and intricate, fine little details that are very difficult to be done in other ways. In addition, of course, laser systems can cut, mark, and engrave literally thousands of different materials and applications. So here is the type of application that we're going to work with. It is the Blazer Orange Laser Mask. It combines the convenience of your laser engraver with the quality of sand carving to create beautifully etched glass and crystal. IKONICS Imaging's Blazer Orange Laser Mask is a sandblastable laser mask designed to create stencils for high-end corporate, promotional, and giftware industries. And it's specifically designed for lasers. What that means is it doesn't have any toxins or any other materials in it that can't be laser processed, such as like PVC vinyl, which some people will use vinyl cutters for this. So the sandblasting mask specifically designed for lasers is what's necessary in order to make this process work. I'm going to move forward now, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to show you a few other things. Here is my favorite formula in this process. I've created a math problem for you. Glass plus Blazer Orange Mask plus a laser engraver plus a sand carver equals awesome. It is awesome. I really like it because the two collaborative technologies give us the ability to do things that I can't do on a laser. And being able to create the intricate design masks on the laser system is something that the sand carving industry has a difficult time with. So this combination of using glass, using the Blazer Orange Mask with the laser and the sand carving really do give you a powerful combination of tools so which you can produce product at a much faster, higher quality, and a better rate of speed. So here is a video. I'm going to show you the process here now. This is a video that's actually going to show the process of the laser, and then we're going to head over to Darren and IKONICS and finish it up. So the first things first is we're going to take the Blazer Orange laser mask, and we're going to then place it over the glass. And whether this is wrapped around a glass or radius, or in this case, it's just a flat box or block of glass, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll lay a piece of it. We'll cut it off of the sheet, and it comes in many different sizes of rolls. And then I'm going to squeegee it down, making sure there's no bubbles. And so this is important so that both the laser process and the sandblasting process is consistent. And then we're going to trim it out. I trim it out to make it look a little better here, but that's not entirely necessary. You can wrap it around if you want. I think it looks better when it's trimmed. That's just me. So here it is. We've basically we've squeegeed it down. We've trimmed it off the edge. And now there's a film on it. And this is a film that kind of protects the surface in the roll that you need to remove before we start this process. That film is removed, and then we're going to take some graphics, different black and white graphics in any vector design software. I'm going to select those graphics, and then I'm going to push print. I have a red outline which identifies the size of my product here, which is the glass block, but I'm only going to engrave the black items. I'm going to select the Trotec printer as the printer driver, and then I'm going to select the material. So I've made a custom preset here called IKONICS Orange Mask, but that's not going to be on your system. So I've actually provided settings here if you want to make your own setting. And I will provide these. We'll have a QR code for those, and we can go back to that later. I will show you them in a detail. Once you've selected your material and you put in your power settings, go ahead and push print, open up job control. And then now we are ready to go. Whether we're running 1, 2, or 3, or a whole field, we're now ready to laser process. So this is my Speedy 400 in my laser lab, and I'm going to do them one at a time, and then I'm going to show you in a row. So in this case, I've cut out a piece of tape, placed it on the table for positioning and orientation. I focus on the material, and then we're going to go ahead and push start using the settings that I showed you before. We're then going to laser process it. We're going to ablate the surface of the Blazer Orange. And then we're going to slightly go into the glass. I like to just kid us into the glass a little bit. This way we got a nice clean removal. It doesn't hurt the glass at all. If you overpower it a little bit, it's not going to hurt anything. Or in this case where I'm just barely going through on this little like rock climber one. Once it's finished, go ahead and remove it out of the machine. You can see the glass is removed, or the blast is removed. Or in this case, here's an example of the same 3 files that I run individually. I can run them all at the same time. And this is a powerful tool with the laser system. You can run the laser system full up, as many as you can fit on the field, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 50. And now we have as many product as you can produce. Typically, it can be produced faster than the sand carver can actually carve it. So we now have our finished masks ready to go. These are now ready for sand carving. And then we have the ability to take them and put them through the sand carver as they come out of the laser system. So that is the process that is done on the laser side. Simple application of the mask, peeling of the film, and then in turn, sticking them in the laser. Don't forget to focus, use the settings that I just gave you, and then engrave into the material through the mask, and then expose the glass, basically getting it ready for sand carving. Here are those settings again, so that you can kind of take a closer look. I've also posted them in many locations, or you can come back to this filter or this webinar at any time and review them. If your system's a little bit up and down, depending on your lens and stuff like that, ultimately it comes down to you want to get through that mask. If you overpower it a little bit and go into the glass a little bit, it pretty much hurts nothing. You're just kind of starting the process for the sand carver anyway. So use these settings, modify or make your own settings, but at least this will give you a good starting point. Here are some resources for you. Here's the QR code if you want to actually practice this project, just to get used to it. Here's the files. The design files, of course, are going to be included with all the step-by-step instructions and where to get the materials. Here is a QR code for the Blazer Orange mask. You can just scan this one. Of course, these links will be in the comment section below once this video or webinar is posted online. And then the glass blocks that I use. These are a great kind of a jade glass paperweight that I get from JDS Industries. If you're interested in those, of course, you can contact JDS or scan this QR code. It'll take you right to them, or just go to the website and type in the SKU number, the CE3536, and it'll be directed right to it. You can order 1, 2, or a case or 100 cases, which I'm sure they would prefer. And now we're going to go ahead and switch this webinar from the laser side over to Darren Jones and the technical training and sales specialist. Darren Jones is also known as Dr. Finegrit. Dr. Finegrit, are you there? I see you there on the screen.
I'm here. I'm here for everyone.
Well, welcome to the webinar, and thank you so much for allowing us to work between it. I have these awesome blocks that I have now laser engraved, and I need to get them to you in Minnesota so that you can sand carve them. So how am I going to do that? So I'm going to just go ahead and try handing them to you all the way through here. Oh, don't drop them. Don't drop them. You got them
right now. I think I got them, Dave. Yeah, I got it.
You got them. Okay.
They're a little heavy. I got 3 pieces, but I can handle it.
All right. Oh, there you go.
Oh, perfect handoff, Dave. Perfect. Appreciate that. Here from the lovely confines of Phoenix, Arizona, right to Duluth, Minnesota, we got these glass blocks that were beautifully engraved on a Trotec laser. Wonderful job. Does a beauty of detail. And we're going to cover the next phase, which is the sand carving, which is, I think, the best part, as far as showing the final piece. So just a little run through Dr. Finegrit's what I've been known as. I've been doing these videos on YouTube for a little while. I've been doing the education for sand carving for over 15 years. And I want to show you how you can complement your laser with sand carving. And I use a lot of analogies. And basically, lasering and sandblasting I've been dating for many, many years. They haven't really gone beyond the dating scene until now. I think a marriage is happening here. They're intertwined. They're a great couple, and you're gonna find out why as we get through this video. So without further ado, we'll just move on. This is all live, so I'm gonna show you everything as we go. As Dave mentioned, we're gonna have a question and answer portion at the end of the seminar as well. Here's the 2 machines we'll be using in the event. It's a Crystal Blast Elite. It's our most popular machine on the market. You'll see it at all the trade shows, all of our seminars. I'm just basically showing the basic setup of turning on the machine. You'll see the bright LEDs that are very important in seeing the process. So here I'm just adding a piece of Blazer Orange with the fish image. And you'll see like a bracelet nozzle and an air gun in the machine with the LED lights. Very bright, very clean. So as you can see here, I'm pointing my nozzle at 90 degrees and I'm hitting the imaged area, and I'm basically removing any of that leftover film membrane that's left in the image. So as Dave mentioned, you can go all the way through the membrane, or you can leave some behind. Sand carving, the abrasive is going to penetrate through even up to a mil of Blazer Orange material. So again, it's up to you as far as what your technique goes. At the end of my sand carving, I use an air gun to remove any of the dust, any of the abrasive, so it's get reclaimed in our machine. And basically you open the door and pull your piece out, and you're going to see the awesome work you're able to do with laser and sand carving. So you can see on this one, we did use some tape on the edges. You could also use an oversized Blazer Orange mask to cover the edges, so you eliminate using any tape. So just another idea. We did speed through the removal of the film and the tape in that case. It does take less than 20 seconds to remove everything. And here we are. The awesome image that we created with the laser and sand carver with Blazer Orange mask material. Just a little, different dimensions. I think on these glass blocks, we look at the image on the side, you can really see the depth that you're able to achieve with the sand carving method. So the fish image is popular, but another main image that our customers like to play with is our maple leaf. This one here, we're going to do a 2-stage. So what we're doing again is removing the membrane, which is very easily removed with the abrasive. We are blasting under 30 psi with a pressure pot system, and just doing a little run through to remove that membrane so that we have islands. So here you'll see my hands in action, peeling away the stencil. And this is how we do a 2-step or a 2-stage stage carve. So after removal, you're going to shoot your abrasive at the piece. Now, in this image, you're going to notice the face is not going to be pure white. It's kind of a grayish or shade look. That's the effect you can get with sand carving by lowering your air pressure down to like 5 psi. Keeping your distance the same as you did on the white veins in the leaf. And just by going to a lower pressure, you're able to get a gray image instead of a pure white image. So that's the effect of a 2-stage. Very awesome. And just sticks out in your showroom, sticks out online, as you can see in this run through. And it's not just included to line art images. Of course, you can do logos, you can do names, you can do a lot of different variety with this technique. And then finally, you're going to see the rock climber. This is my favorite image. I do this at all the schools I teach. Customers really have a good time with it. It's a 5-stage. So what we're doing here is we're creating multi-dimensions in the glass. So instead of doing 2 levels of sand carving, before we did the shade and a white, now we're going to do 5 different levels. So there's going to be 5 etching depths. And here you're going to notice the silicon carbide is eating away at the glass material, very smooth. And you're going to notice a light kind of hitting there. It's not a flashlight on your nozzle like a lot of you may notice. It's actually the silicon carbide that's sparking on the glass, creating a flashlight effect. And that's only with silicon carbide. So the carbide abrasive is very important because it's going to give you that spark, so you know you're blasting at all times. So you're not wasting time in the machine trying to find out what needs to etch, what needs to go deeper, and whatnot. So carbide really makes your job a lot easier, but also more fun. Who doesn't want to look like a flashlight? I mean, it's like, do you walk around in the dark? Not really, right? So it's nice to have that little flashlight kind of leading the way for you. So here's the 2nd stage. So the first stage was etched up to half the thickness of the glass. And so let's say 1/4 inch. The 2nd stage, I don't go quite as deep as the 1st stage. So 1/4 inch to 1/8. I usually go about half of the depth that I did on the 1st stage. Now we're doing the 3rd stage. And again, we're not going to go as deep as the 2nd stage. So it's just basically creating a step pattern in the glass. And you're going to notice the flashlight moving back and forth, which is the spark from your abrasive. So you'll see now I'm doing another stage, which is the moon. Now this one I'm going to do like I did with the maple leaf as well as the fish. It's called a shading effect. And what you're going to do is blast at 5 psi to get the shade or mist look instead of your traditional white. And then you get to finally reveal what we did here with the 5-stage image, which is the rock climber here in this case. The image closest to you is carved the deepest, and then it just steps from there. So it's like walking up a hill and finding a rock climber. So this is a traditional award. You can add this to any kind of item. So adds more value, adds more dimension, adds more color. Hands down, sand carving on glass is the way to go. So here's our final 3 pieces. Our fish on the left, a 2-stage, rock climber in the 5-stage in the middle, and then the maple leaf on the right. So all really good techniques, very easy to do. just takes a little practice. So any other questions? Like, we're here to help. I know a lot of it depends on the machine you have, maybe the abrasive that you currently use, maybe the type of glass or how thick, because this isn't just limited to glass blocks. You can do this on awards, you can do this on coffee mugs, you can do it on stone, any type of brittle, smooth surface works really well with the Blazer Orange. So any other questions? Like I said, Dave and I are here to work with you. And like I said, we're going to have a blast.
We're going to have a blast.
Get things rolling.
All right. Thanks, Darren. That was awesome. I think I really love the combination between the two different processes. I've always wanted to put depth in the glass. And now, after even just doing the test with you folks, I really want a sandblaster in my lab now, too. So I'll have to see about working that, getting that arranged. So we're going to go ahead and answer some questions now. If it's laser side, I'll definitely be here to help it. If it is the sand side, of course, Darren is here. So we're going to post some questions here, and we'll go through them as we do. Oh, there, this one's for you. Hey, Darren, do you want to answer that one? How does this compare to the laser green tape that I've used for years?
Oh, okay. Yeah, great. Yeah, I see that from Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
The green laser tape that we created was several years ago. It's a sticky green 4mm resist. The orange material is more of a repositionable, easy to peel 4mm material. So people that do like this method where you're sand carving, removing, doing little removal or blasting removal, that kind of method, you want something that peels off easily. And that's what Blazer Orange does for you. Another application would be color filling. So if you're going deep on your carving or maybe getting a texture in like a polar camel mug, for example, you just get a little texture in the material, then the Blazer Orange is going to peel off easier after color filling. So the reason why I do suggest the green is only for porous items where you want an extra stick in the film. Now, if you're going to be using the Blazer Orange on a porous material, that's perfectly fine as well. You could just use one of our water-based adhesives to give it more tack level. And so you can use Blazer Orange for everything. So it's not limited to polished, but if you want it more sticky, just use the extra adhesive.
Okay, how long does it take to create those masks we just saw? Really interested in some real life run times. From my side, on the laser side, to create the mask, it's a simple black and white graphic. So that was really quite easy. The actual run time on the laser is going to really depend on, of course, what laser you have. I was able to actually create the masks on the lasers in just a few minutes. If I did them one at a time, it was about 2.5 minutes. But when I ran 3 at a time, I was able to run them in about it was about 3 minutes for all 3 of them. So you get more efficiency as long as you can fill up that bed on the laser system. It is a quick and easy process so that you don't have to, you're not picking pieces out or anything else. You just ablate it with the laser and then run it. So, but yeah, usually a minute or 2 per part. But again, it really depends on the size as well. And that was for the 4x6 blocks that we just ran.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, Dave, about the sand carving portion, the sand carving depends on the air pressure that you're going to be using. I did do 30 psi. Now, if I was in a bigger rush or wanted to get done sooner, I would have increased the pressure maybe to 50 psi. But when you increase the air pressure, you got to be a little bit more cautious of certain things. So I would say the blasting total would be under 5 minutes, and that's with the peel of each stage. So that's stage carving's a method where you're going to charge more than your traditional etch. So you got to, get paid accordingly for your labor and extra creativity.
Sounds good. Cost per square inch of laser mask. That looks like it would be for you, Darren.
Oh, yeah. That's a great question. Generally, we have a lot of promotions. I know this is not a forum for that, but generally pricing on the film is about $0.015 a square inch on average. So like I said, this is not a forum for pricing, let's per se, but we do make the film rolls in 6 inches wide, like you see here. as well as 12 inches wide. So those are two formats we currently offer in 100-foot lengths. And we have a film that actually has a slip sheet on there. So if you're wanting to, because our rolls are 12 inches wide in some cases, so you can cut off like a 3-inch by 3-inch cube and just cut out 100 pieces for like a 3-inch by 3-inch cube, for example. So it's got the slip sheet on there that you remove before you apply it. So that way you can create sheets to speed up your process. But any other questions on pricing, I think it'd be better to discuss that with our sales rep at IKONICS Imaging.
Do you need to use a wire wheel after lasering? Considering I don't really know what a wire wheel is, I think that's for you, Darren.
Yeah, great question, John. The brass wire wheel, it's designed to perforate the thin membrane in photoresist film. Since this is a laser film, it doesn't need a wire wheel because the membrane is being perforated with a laser engraver. So no, you don't need a wire wheel with laser film. Absolutely not.
How do I know what layer to peel next to get a 3D look? Another one I think is for you, Darren.
All right. To get the 3-dimensional look, the question is, how do I know
what layer to peel? Yeah. Which order based on, I guess, depth, I think, right?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how many stages you have. On the rock climber one that I show a lot, it's the easiest to explain because it's got steps up a hill, and then it's got the rock climber with no feet. So he's behind the step, and then there's a moon behind him. So that's an easier example of how to do the stages. Now, as far as, I think the question was, how do you know when you get to the machine which layer to peel? So most cases, what we recommend and what we show is we'll take an image that's printed or written on a piece of paper and paste that on the sand carving machine with like a step pattern. So like your first stage would be the item carved the deepest, so it'd be a 1. And then your next deepest or next closest item to you would be 2, and so forth. So I know the challenge with 3-dimension is trying to figure out what's in front, what's in back. So that's always on the eye of the beholder, right? So I think I answered that correctly, but if I didn't, please chime in.
What media are you using for sand carving?
That's a great question. I like to use 180 mesh silicon carbide. It's a good medium to do halftones for deep carving in the glass, marble. You can do stainless steel items like that. So 180 is my favorite medium because I can do detail and carving. So I recommend 180. That's what I used in the demo as well.
Dave, question on the laser. Can you laser inside the glass, not on the surface, so that it looks like it's embedded in the glass? You may be you're thinking of some of those glass blocks that you've seen out in the field where the image is actually inside the graphic itself. Our lasers don't do that. It's a different type of laser that actually uses it basically out of phase, if you will, until it reaches its focal point, and then it actually cracks the glass once it reaches its focal point. Those type of lasers are very specific, and they basically crack the glass inside at each focal point, and then each pulse is the X, Y, and Z axis is moved for each pulse to create a 3-dimensional image inside of a glass. So no, a Trotec laser, a traditional Trotec laser, or flatbed type laser system will not do that. You have to buy a very specific laser for that. They're kind of expensive, and realistically, that's all they do. So you kind of have to have a niche market for it, and so your laser is not going to be able to do that in short.
Dave, could I add on that as well?
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
Yeah, I actually have a customer that does this line of work. And what they do, I don't have an example with me, but I could maybe show this on a future webinar. But when you have glass blocks like this, okay, you blast on the back, okay, the item, okay. Now you're going to carve really deep into the glass on one side, but on the other side, it's polished, obviously. Okay. So what our customers do to give it kind of a look like you would, I think what they're talking about is the image in the glass, is they'll take a secondary block, carve it deep, and then glue the two together. So it's polished on both sides and you see a big carving on the inside. So you can kind of look at it like a three-dimensional.
I see.
Yeah.
A
So
roundabout way to act, and then that's a true 3D actual carving instead of individual pulses like those other lasers. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, roundabout way. Exactly.
I'm gonna have to do that next time. That sounds cool. What is the max depth you can achieve with this film? Probably max depth into the glass, I would imagine, since a laser can't do that. So, Darren?
Yeah, it is a 4mm material. Generally speaking, on glass, 1/8 inch is your ideal depth. On the video, I did a 1/4 inch depth on the first stage. And the reason I was able to do that was because of the carbide creating that little flashlight. So I was concentrating on the glass only and not on the resist. So that's one of the big advantages of carbide with the flashlight is you're not going to burn off the resist prematurely. So it allows you to go deep because you're just hitting glass, no resist. Now, generally speaking, though, in sand carving, as you go as deep as the line is wide. So if your text is 1/8 inches wide, that's the depth that you're going to be able to achieve.
Okay, can you pre-make the images without them being on the product so I can have them for future use? From the laser standpoint, yes, of course. You could basically pre-cut them. I wouldn't really ablate them, and it depends on the detail of the graphic, I would think. Because if you've got little individual centerpieces, you can't really do that unless you use like an etching and then transfer it, or just cut it out and leaving it on the film and then weeding it. So I don't recommend that, but it depends on the graphic of itself. If you're just cutting individual holes or graphics out with a laser, then yes, I think you could do it in advance and then place it on it. But this stuff is also kind of stretchy, so it's going to be difficult to hold some of the tolerances and details from my perspective. Have you run across that, Darren, at all?
No, but what I could add there, because back to the question earlier about the green versus the orange laser mask material, the green film, when you laser etched it and left the piece out for a long period of time, eventually that green mask may shrink a little bit and you distort your image. The laser orange was made to hold up. So you can laser abrade all your images and use them months or whatever you need to. So the orange film is not going to shrink or distort over time. So you're able to do pre-made images on glass.
Yeah, and I think if they were put onto the glass and then engraved and then stacked up for later sand carving, I thought that maybe the question was that the orange or the blazer orange was cut in advance separately from the glass and then applied. In that case, that may not be able to. But yes, of course, if you want to have 100 blocks and you want to set your laser to run all day long, yeah, just like
that, right?
yeah. And so they can sit there, and then, in a month later when you want to run them. So if you've got a stock product that you just need to sand carve, I would imagine you could laser engrave them and have them on a shelf and then sand carve them to order, should you want. Yeah, that would I couldn't see a problem with that. Who provides the distortion tables for curved objects? Oh, I think that they mean like distortion compensation of the graphics for around an object. Is that something you're familiar with, Darren?
I do have some principles that I use on that. I don't want to step in your toes. Do you have anything to add?
No. I mean, I don't really use a lot of that because the laser we will actually place the mask over the surface of something that like a cup, for example, and then we will rotate that cup so that there is no distortion needed. All compensation is done in the laser automatically. So, if you're putting it on and doing it before and then applying the mask, maybe you would have that problem. But the laser compensates for that by rotating around an object, giving you any compensation for radius distortion.
Yeah. Well, like I said, our blazer orange works beautifully on curved surfaces. Yeah. It stretches really good and holds that shape very tight.
Yeah.
So you can use blazer orange with that method, I believe.
Yeah, I can't see why not.
Mm-hmm.
How fine is the media in the sandblaster, Darren?
How fine? Yeah, this is Dr. Finegrit, right? So fine, how fine is it? 180 is considered fine, obviously. Fine grit is actually 120 mesh to 220 mesh. That's where fine grit comes in play. They do make grit that's 30 grit, 50, 60, and whatnot. That's for monument builders primarily. And then they have really fine grit up to like 2400 mesh. So 180 is the medium that we recommend on all of our sand carving projects. Think of it like sandpaper. When you go to Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's, you buy a sandpaper, and there's a number on there. There's a 150 that says coarse, 180 that says fine, and a 220 that says very fine. So, well, how you relate to what you're sanding your wood or whatever project you have going on at home kind of relates to sand carving. So if you want a coarse look or a fine look or a very fine look. So just the texture on the glass.
All right. Can you use the same layering technique with the green tape, like with a laser like the sandblasted glass? With the green tape with a laser like the sandblasted glass. So it looks like that's a question for you, Darren.
Yeah, absolutely. You can use the green. As mentioned earlier, the green tape is slightly tackier, so the removal process takes a little bit more time. May leave a slight residue at times on some, like a polar camel, for example. So that's why we do recommend the Blazer Orange, because it does eliminate any residue issues. You have an easier peel, which cuts down your labor time. And it's, I think Blazer just more durable, a little easier to use. But yeah, you can use green tape, the same method.
Okay, next question. Would you demonstrate or explain the proper method for paint filling with the orange mask? Well, we're not going to be able to really demonstrate it. We're not set up to do that. But I mean, ultimately, if you were to use it with the laser system just for paint filling instead of sand carving, the process would be just the same that I went through and showed you on the video. Apply the mask, peel it off, engrave it through into the material, whatever that material is. And then instead of taking it to a sand carver, all you would do is take it to your painter. Make sure any excess material, exposed material, has been masked off. And then go ahead and paint it, let it dry, and then peel the mask off to expose the finished painted object. So yeah, it would work just as well for that. So if you do want to use it for sand carving, or you can use it for paint fill. The other thing I like about it is because it is stretchy, you can wrap it around radiuses and stuff like that. If you're doing like color fill on the a polar camel, for example, like that, I would use this stuff for that. It works really well. And then I've even gone to the point where I've then masked over the engraved area and then spray painted the whole object and then peeled that mask or mask over that mask and then done a different color. So it works the same way. The only difference is instead of sand carving, you spray it with paint and then peel that paint off.
Yeah, and when you sand carve, you're creating that textured surface to help the paint adhere better, but you also get the depth. So you create different pools. Yeah. So your paint follows in deeper into the glass. So when you peel off the mask, you don't have any trouble peeling out paint with the mask. So there's a couple advantages when you do add sand carving to color fill processing. Yeah. So the orange, the proper method is you sand carve it, use an air gun in your machine. If you don't have an air gun, go get one, put one on. You're going to love it. It's going to clean up your piece a lot more efficiently. Get all the dust out of it. And then you're going to, then with the mask still on, just use your aerosol paint, use a airbrush, hand brush, whatever you have accessible. Paint it. Beauty of Blazer Orange, you can peel it within like minutes afterwards because it peels off so nicely and doesn't really break and do that. So yeah, something that you can definitely use for color filling. Just a little background behind it. The Blazer Orange, the analogy I use a lot is it's like peeling an orange. Okay, so when you peel an orange, you don't put the orange in water and soak it, right? You just take an orange and just rip it and start peeling. It comes off in big chunks, right? That's what this is. It's going to peel off in big chunks. You don't soak it in water, okay? Because that's going to make it harder to get off. And it's also, going to make it easy, no residue. And yeah, I think it's a great product.
All right. I have a 65-watt laser, and it seems like most suggested settings are for are 60 watts. Do you have a formula to use for making adjustments for that extra 5 watts to avoid trial and error? 5% speed, for example. My formula is I will definitely run some trial and error process when I'm dialing in settings. Something like this where it's not really a power issue, it's more of a speed issue. No matter what wattage you have, in this case, I would run it at 100%. I don't care what wattage you have. And then I would just adjust the speed setting until I've penetrated through the mask into the material itself. The settings I gave for you for a 60 watt, for an 80, for 120 are just kind of the more common wattages out there. You can kind of extrapolate from that, or you can contact us and we'll give you a much closer number if you don't feel those numbers are appropriate to your laser machine. We'll definitely help you out that so that you don't have that risk of possibly ruining a product that you've never done before. Is the silicon reusable, Darren?
Yes. Silicon carbide resharpens, never dulls. So think of it like a carbide tooth blade that you buy at the hardware store. Just keeps going and going and going. So yeah, you can definitely reuse it. Now, you gotta look at your machine as well. If your machine isn't reclaiming the abrasive, then you gotta look that in to your numbers, because if some of the machines out there, the dust collector is so powerful and doesn't have a reclaimer to separate the dust from the abrasive, it's gonna suck in good abrasive. So in that case, it's not reusable. So if you have a crystal blast machine, definitely yes, 100% reusable, 100% of it.
Awesome. As this is applied before creating the image, is it less likely to have bubble blowouts that you can't do halftone detail as an alternate to rapid mask? Again, this looks like yours, Darren.
Yeah. I don't have too many issues with the Blazer Orange creating bubbles. I did with the green mask back in the day, because when you have a stickier mask, when you apply it with your squeegee, you get little air pockets in there. And since it's so sticky, you kind of rub around it and create a bubble. With the Blazer Orange, considering it's repositionable, if you do get a slight bubble in there, you can lift it off and reapply it. So as far as the rapid mask, yeah, we did recommend using the wire wheel. I had that question earlier. But yeah, again, back to the Blazer Orange. Yeah, no trouble with bubbles in the orange material.
I found when I applied it, actually, I used a roller. So as I was putting it down, I take the roller and roll over it, and that really made it easy. Versus, especially on larger sheets, the big wide roller made a big difference for me, at least, in my very limited experience with it.
I don't know if my camera sees down below. I really can't do a demo of the application.
No, not really. No, not right now. Okay. Future webinar.
Yeah, there you
How
go.
would this work on curved glass, like a wine glass? So another one for you, I think, because it's your material.
Absolutely. Let me pull up our little smart jig. Okay, it's a little jig device that we put curved items on. So if you're working with like a whiskey glass, for example, again, I can't really do it live because of the camera angle. Again, for a later one, but the film stretches onto curves very easily. I've actually done those with some of the seminars we've done with Trotec in the last couple of years. The way it works is you take the Blazer Orange, you remove the carrier sheet, so it's just a material in your hands. It's going to feel like fruit roll-up. Remember that back in the day? So it's going to feel like that, and you're going to put it on your glass and stretch it. Give it a slight tug on both ends, and then pull it down. You'll be amazed on how tight, and no bubbles, no wrinkles. It's going to be very tight on there. So especially if it's a curved item like a balloon wine glass or a red wine glass, it's going to conform without any bubbles or wrinkles. And that's because you can stretch it and it retains the shape. That's the beauty of Blazer Orange.
Awesome. And the other benefit of having a laser is that handy jig you have in your hand look like it's been laser cut.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. See, there you go. Laser cut. It's neat. Perfect. Next question. How does the Laser Orange work with finer detailed logos?
You want to take that one, Dave?
Well, from the laser standpoint, I had absolutely no problem. I was able to get intricate details down. I mean, I've run text down to like a 6-point font, and it was able to easily produce the detail into the actual, through the film into the substrate behind it. I have not personally sand carved that afterwards, and so that would be a question for you, Darren, to see if that detail will, of course, transmit into the glass in that case. But the laser has no problem achieving that kind of detail.
Yeah, as long as you have the right media. We talk about fine grit, 180, 220 grit. The higher the number, the finer the grit. As long as you have that fine media, anything you can create in your laser, you can sand carve down the road. So 6-point fonts, you know, that's what I recommend for 180 mesh. If you go below that, like a 4-point, you definitely need a 220 grit. But, you know, it all depends on your machine too, right?
Yeah, and the laser system too. Once we're getting down into those smaller details, it may also depend on your settings. It may also depend on what lens you're using. But yes, I can do halftone meshes and photographic quality if we want into this process. So, but again, you want to make sure you match that detail with the right grit on the sand carver so that you can relay that. And maybe future webinars, we go with a little more advanced stuff and start doing, the photographic type quality and stuff like that using this process if we decide to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the sand carving side of things too, we recommend all pressure pot systems, which is pressurized abrasive. It's centralized on your piece, so you can do fine detail work. But there's customers out there that have what we call a siphon, where the abrasive comes out like a fan spray. So it really clouds your whole image area, so it's hard to see the fine detail area. So those people that have siphon machines out there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Get a pressure pot system, and it's going to give you much better results with detail.
All right. Will the Blazer Orange mask give you higher quality engraved results on glass or crystal without sand carving? I think what Michaela is asking is the ability to actually kind of protect the edges. A lot of times when you laser engrave glass, we run into a phenomenon called, it looks like it's a chipping and flaking effect. And so, yes, the answer is yes, the Blazer Orange match will actually improve the quality because it kind of stabilizes the laser power and kind of absorbs some of that heat, and you're gonna see less chipping and flaking when we're just doing a light etching into it. And then of course you can color fill from that. So if you just want the ability to kind of protect that glass, or if you want to color fill it, or if you want to keep it from chipping and flaking as much, I find that yes, the masking type material would work even if you don't have a sand carver. It could be a clear advantage for doing some of these applications.
Yeah, I agree with Dave on that. You can still use the film without sand carving, just like you said.
Yep. Great job. Well, thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that concludes our webinar. I thank you for coming from the Trotec side. And Darren, you want to say anything here?
Yeah, thanks everyone. It was a pleasure working with Dave here today, but most of all, everyone out there watching today, and then maybe later on YouTube, there'll be some other questions that come up. Just want to mention, it's great working with lasers and sand carvers together. I think it's
a winning combination.
It's an awesome way of doing things. Moving forward into our economy, I think it's important to offer different items, something more unique, more creative. So, yeah, thanks again for having me today. This doesn't end now. It's going to move on into the future. Hopefully some other webinars like halftones, like Dave mentioned, maybe more on curved surfaces. So
who knows what the future
I just want to say, everyone have a blast out there and be kind.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Again, if you have any questions from my side as well, feel free to post them later. We will definitely keep them up to date. And until next time, Laser Dave and Dr. Finegrit signing off. Thanks.